Alito disrespected President Obama again during a 2010 State of the Union address after the president correctly criticized the Citizens United decision that kicked open the floodgates to billionaires like Leonard Alito and Clarence Thomas's benefactors to buy up politics and apparently our courts. Then there was that time, months after he penned the Dobbs decision overturning Roe, when Alito attended an event in Rome and complained about the rise in secularism. Unprompted, he went on to complain that world leaders dared to question his ruling.
I had the honor this term of writing, I think, the only Supreme Court decision in the history of that institution that has been lambasted by a whole string of foreign leaders who felt perfectly fine commenting on American law. One of these was former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, but he paid the price. All I am going to say is that ultimately, if we are going to win the battle to protect religious freedom in an increasingly secular society, we will need more than positive law.
He added that if religious liberty is protected, then men and women of faith will be able to speak out on social issues, which is exactly what he's been doing. And while he likes speaking up, he doesn't like being called out. Alito posted an unprecedented rebuke of ProPublica in the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal before ProPublica posted a stunning report that he had accepted a luxury fishing trip from Republican megadonor Paul Singer, who had active cases in front of the Supreme Court. And that's all before the upside-down flag, the upside-down American flag, I should note, and the Jesus at the Insurrection flag flew at his homes. And also, that's just the stuff Sam Alito has been saying in public, which kind of makes you wonder what he's been saying behind closed doors. Well, there is blockbuster new audio today that gives us some insight into that. It comes from progressive activist and documentarian Lauren Windsor. Ms. Windsor, who is known for approaching high-profile conservative figures, pretending to be an ally, and then recording them making candid comments, spoke to Justice Alito at the Supreme Court Historical Society's annual dinner earlier this month, where she asked him about political polarization.
As a Catholic and as someone who really cherishes my faith, I don't know that we can negotiate with the left in the way that needs to happen for the polarization to end. I think that it's a matter of winning.
I think you're probably right. I think one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised. Really can't be compromised. So it's not like we're going to split the difference.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that the solution really is winning the moral argument. People in this country who believe in God have got to keep fighting for that, to return our country to a place of godliness.
Oh, I agree with you.
And just to underscore how unusual that kind of response is from a Supreme Court justice, here is Chief Justice John Roberts after being asked a similar question by Ms. Windsor.
You don't think there's a role for the court in guiding us toward a more moral path?
No, I think the role for the court is deciding the cases. If I start, would you want me to be in charge of guiding us toward a more moral path? That's for the people we elect. That's not for lawyers.
Well, I guess I believe that the founders who are godly, we're Christians, and I think that we live in a Christian nation, and that our Supreme Court should be guiding us in that path.
Yeah, I don't know that we live in a Christian nation. I know a lot of Jewish and Muslim friends who would say maybe not. And it's not our job to do that. It's our job to decide the cases as best we can.
Joining me now is the creator and executive producer of The Undercurrent, Lauren Windsor, whose voice you just heard in those secret recordings. We should also note that Lauren attended this dinner as a dues-paying member of the society under her real name. Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Joy.
Welcome back to the show. One side or the other is going to win. It's not like we can split the difference. These are shocking comments. But before I get to how you reacted, how you internally reacted to them, I do want to just underscore that. How did you get into this event?
I was a dues-paying member. I bought a ticket.
Were you surprised? Because there's another part of your recording where you say, hey, I talked to you in 2022. But Alito kept talking. He didn't seem he seemed undeterred by the fact that you're someone he doesn't know personally, and he was willing to say a lot to you.
Well, so it was 2023, and I included both of the interactions there just so people could see that, you know, I think some of the criticism is, oh, well, he was just agreeing with you or whatnot. But look at his answer in 2023. It was different. It was, no, we don't have a role. I don't know. I don't know. And it was also contrasted to Robert's answer.
Let me play that. Let me play. This is Justice Alito in 2023 also talking to you, Lauren Windsor, and talking about the media. Take a listen.
Like, this was like the last bastion of, I think, like, public trust. And, like, how do we get back to that?
I wish I knew. I don't know. It's easy to blame the media, but I do blame them because they do nothing but criticize us. And so they have really eroded trust in the court. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, ordinary people, ordinary isn't the right word. American citizens in general need to work on this to try to heal this polarization because it's very dangerous. I do believe it's very dangerous.
So he had a very different answer back then. Were you surprised at how candid he was about saying one side or the other is going to win? It's not like we can split the difference. He's essentially saying, he's agreeing, yes, we need to win this culture war.
Yes, of course. I mean, when the first interaction happened, I was like, okay, well, it's very hard to get a judge, a justice, even lower level judges to talk about politics, anything that might imply politics, to give any sort of hint or signal as to what their own opinions may be. And so after that first interaction, I didn't publish it because it wasn't very newsworthy.
Yeah.
Interesting, but not newsworthy. But I felt like in the course of the last year, because that was before the spotlight was on him with ProPublica.
Sure.
So I felt like that grievance was more peaked over the past year with his own experience. And so I wanted to see if he had a different reaction.
And he certainly did. Let's talk about Martha Ann. Justice Alito has blamed Martha Ann, his wife, and said it is her flag. She's the one who flew them. It's her fault that there was an upside-down American flag and then a, what is it, consent to Jesus or embrace appeal to heaven flag outside their vacation home. Let me play for you, and this is new audio. It just recently went up on your social media and on Rolling Stone. Here is Martha Ann Alito, and you go up to her and you start by saying, hey, I'm a big fan of your husband, and let's hear what happens after that.
I'm a huge fan of your husband, and everything that you're going through, I just want to tell you that, like,
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not okay, though. It's not okay.
It's okay. It's okay because if they come back to me, I'll get them. I'm going to be liberated, and I'm going to.
What do you mean by?
Oh well, there's a 5-year defamation statute of limitations.
I don't know what you mean by gay, like
media.
Oh, okay.
Come on, I'll get you. Come on.
I'm normally not speechless. I'll get them. I'm going to get them. I'll be liberated, and I'm going to get them. She talks about a 5-year defamation statute of limitations. We know that there are conservative legal groups who would like to allow the media to be sued for defamation. Donald Trump talks about it all the time. Do you think that's what she was talking about?
Well, I certainly feel like, yeah, she would like to go after the media, but the implication here with a 5-year statute of limitations is that Justice Alito will be retired by then. And he would only retire
if there's a conservative.
If Trump were in the White House again. Sure. So there's an assumption there that Trump wins the White House. And so that adds an additional layer of self-interest to all of these decisions that he's deciding, because he's thinking about impending retirement.
Sure.
amongst other things.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that the moment Donald Trump is inaugurated, they'll retire probably a day after that. There's another piece, and this one is even more bizarre, but I think also more relevant, since she is the one who Samuel Alito blamed for the various flags that flew both at their home and their vacation home. Here is Martha Ann Alito talking about flags. Take a listen.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, please don't put up a flag. I said, I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. This is how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white and it's yellow and orange flames around it. And in the middle is the word vergogna. Vergogna in Italian means shame.
Vergogna. For those of you who did not hear that clearly, I'm just going to reread this to you because I think you need to understand what she said. This is Mrs. Samuel Alito. You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month. Then she says, oh, please don't put up a flag. He's like, she means Samuel Alito, oh, please don't put up a flag. She said, I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. That's how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white and it has yellow and orange flames around it. And in the middle of it is the word vergogna. Vergogna. And she emphasized that as an Italian word that means shame. What were your immediate thoughts after hearing that?
Well, throughout this sort of rant, there was a lot of, just aggression and, against the media, getting even. And it felt like, another instance of getting even, shame. And at one point she talked about being German, and I really had more of the impression that she was Italian by the way that she was talking about
everything. From Begonia.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
And she said, I'm German, and you just can't believe how much I can come at you and give more revenge. Begonia. Lauren Windsor, congratulations. This is a huge scoop. Perhaps your biggest yet. Thank you for bringing it to the readout. Much appreciated.